Hi, and welcome to an episode of A Brief History of Nothing. It's episode 13, season 3. It's the 2nd of February, and I'm Ray. Right, on this day, the first member of the Donner Party died on this day in 1847. In 1943, the Battle for Stalingrad ended. In 1971, Idi Amin took power in Uganda. 1979, Sid Vicious died of a drug overdose in New York. In 1996, Hoffer and actor Gene Kelly died in 2014. Philip Seymour Hoffman died of a drug overdose at the age of 46. Now, tonight we're going to talk about guns, politics, and other divisive issues.
Yeah, nothing that ever causes controversy at all.
No.
Now, as of this recording, the Iowa Caucus has just happened. The Democratic Caucus is actually too close to call, and Ted Cruz has narrowly won the Republican Caucus, narrowly above Donald Trump. It was basically Ted Cruz, Donald Trump, Daylight, Marco Rubio. And
yeah, he only got about 15% or something, 80%,
yeah,
something like that.
Oh, it was better than the Democratic Caucus. There was like Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders both on about 49.5%. Daylight, some more Daylight, and then the next candidate, who I don't even remember their name, was it 0.07?
Yes.
Was it? No, 0.7, sorry.
Yeah.
Maths is hard. English is hard, maths is hard.
Yeah. Look, talking about Ted Cruz, I thought Donald Trump was out there and not playing with a full deck on this. But since getting acquainted with Mr. Cruz's attitudes and policies,
Yeah.
Donald doesn't seem that bad.
No. Well,
And to say that is scary.
Yes.
Is an understatement.
Yes. Well, at least they understand that unlike Ben Carson, who believes that the pyramids were built so the Joseph from the Bible could actually store his grain. That's why the pyramids were built, apparently.
A lot of blocks, not a lot of interior space.
No, not really.
And not a lot of, openings that are just big enough to get a person in.
Yeah.
Not real good for storing grain.
No. And a lot of, things that lead nowhere because they're designed to not antagonize, but to confuse and discourage grave robberies. That's the whole point, because they didn't have, burglar alarms in the day, so...
Now, for those who don't understand the difference between a caucus and a primary, would you like to explain?
Okay, caucus is basically members of a particular party, in this case Republicans or Democrats, show up and have gatherings through the state they're doing the caucus in, and a few, I think Hawaii, Iowa's one, Hawaii's another one, Colorado's another one, Alaska I think also has a caucus, and there's a couple of others. So basically, they vote on who they want, and they stand in a particular group in the room depending on who they like.
Yeah.
And if they don't get at least some percentage of the vote...
But it's a party. You're voting for delegates and...
Yeah, the delegates in the general presidential election, yes.
No, but not in... But they're going to the Congress. So you're voting for delegates to the Congress, aren't you?
No, for the president. So you're voting for the delegate for your party for the president.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And so, not the Congress, but for the presidency. But
it's not a popular vote like a primary is.
No, primary is a popular vote. So it acts like a normal vote. Only members of the parties can vote
in a caucus.
In a caucus or in a primary. So it's called the primaries, but in most states do a primary. So it's just a normal, as you would think, election, right? You go in and you cast your ballot and what have you, but only members of the party you're voting for a candidate for can participate.
That's in a caucus?
That's in a caucus and in a primary.
But what if I'm not a member of any party? It means I can't vote for anybody?
No, you can't vote in the primaries. primaries or caucuses. You can vote in the general election as long as you're registered, but you need to be a member of the party in order to vote in the primaries. Because in the primaries and the caucuses, they're voting who they want to represent them in the general election.
Okay.
Yes. We have a much simpler system here in Australia.
Yeah.
It's just the party...
We just have everybody lines up on the one day and says, have at it.
Yeah, basically, here's your bit of paper, number and measure you want, stick them in a box, done.
Yeah. So even if your ballot paper looks like a dining tablecloth, and some years the Senate can look like a dining
tablecloth. Yeah. Most people, because what happens in the Australian Senate is that you either can number everyone, usually it's something up to 50.
We have preferential voting in Australia.
Yeah, preferential voting. And we can either, through 1 to 50, below the line, or sometimes it's even more than that.
Yeah, sometimes it can be upwards towards 100.
Yeah, or that basically you have above the line, you vote for a particular person and they've worked out their own preferences.
Yes.
For you.
Yeah.
So, and you can look up what the preferences are, whether or not what you agree with.
How to vote card. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Much simpler system, guys. Give it a thought.
Yeah, it's easy, simple. Now, Ted Cruz, and we mentioned that Ted Cruz's beliefs can be a bit out there.
Yes, yes. Look, now, is he the guy with the chemtrails?
No, I think that's... He possibly does. I think that's Carson? I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. I think some of them do. Because we're talking about... I mean, most... We're going to mention...
Well, he's pro-gun lobby, though, isn't he?
He's pro... They're all pro-gun lobby.
Yes.
They're all pro-gun lobby. Because a lot of them, the NRA and their representatives pay a lot of money to the Republican side of politics.
Yes, it's interesting. The National Rifle Association really doesn't have anywhere near the members you might think it does. But by gum, does it have a war chest?
Yeah, because a lot of the gun manufacturers and gun sellers, gun retailers, pay a lot of dues to the NRA. And through them basically buy out the politicians. That's why there's a lot of gun violence. There's a lot of gun violence in America, and that's why. I mean, Obama's done what he can, but he can't because an executive order isn't as binding as say like goes through the Congress.
Oh yes.
He can't do a lot without getting it through Congress. The only problem is that the NRA is basically bought out the Congress.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So people have got to figure out whether they think that their fellow citizens' lives are worth giving up the right to bear arms.
Yeah, well that's it.
That's the tall and short of it. And you know, in Australia, England, New Zealand,
they're very restrictive.
We don't have the murder rate you guys have got. So you know.
Well, in the States where the gun laws are stricter, where there's like, you know, the background checks are tougher and you can only have certain weapons, gun rates are a lot lower, and what's actually been shown is that owning a gun to defend yourself doesn't actually work.
No, because a lot of times it gets used on the person who's owning it.
Yes, or they're not skilled enough in owning it.
Mm.
Like, by the time you've got the gun out, you know, what's the point?
Yes.
Now, Ted Cruz, we were mentioning earlier, just decided that because in 1996 in Tasmania, which is a state of Australia, there was a huge massacre in a place called Port Arthur. And
well,
after
by
that,
Australian standards, it was a huge massacre.
Yeah.
An unprecedented. It was unprecedented in this country.
And the government of the day said, right, we need to really tighten down gun laws. You are not allowed as a civilian, or not allowed an automatic or a semi-automatic weapon, or a high-capacity magazine. You're not allowed those things. And you're only, basically, a lot of the time you have to keep it in a safe, you have to keep it, or at a gun...
Yeah, at a gun club. Yes, the restrictions are...
ridiculous.
No, I mean, guns
well, not
have one
ridiculous
purpose.
by American standards. For us, it's like normal.
You know, they are a weapon.
Yeah, they're designed to kill people.
They're designed to kill people, things. That's the
whole point of them. But according to Ted Cruz, that made the rape rates go up.
Yes, apparently rape rates in Australia were going to skyrocket because we tightened up our gun laws.
That was 20 years ago.
Yes, Ted.
That's nice.
Just telling you, mate. Better
No.
keep your feet moving because you'll get bogged in your own bullshit shortly.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, I think so. He's just... In fact, the NRA actually put out anti-Australian gun law ad.
Yeah.
Because
And guess what? We took a lot of notice.
Yeah.
Even our pro-gun people.
just went, what are you doing? What? Why? And they put at a particular time in a particular state, New South Wales. So they didn't diversify that. They just went, oh yeah, this bit of information is convenient, and therefore everything, because they were doing a gun amnesty at the time. Basically, if you had a automatic or semi-automatic weapon or a high capacity magazine, you could hand it in, and you wouldn't get charged. So you could just hand it in, and no one would say anything.
No.
And that was the program, and that's what they did. They, from that particular time in the late 90s, I think they did it.
Yeah.
They did that particular information and just spun it to suit their own purposes.
They had a gun buyback, and they literally took hundreds of thousands of weapons out of circulation.
Yeah. Well, what do you need them for?
Oh, well, they don't.
If you're that worried, I mean, if you need a gun, how many enemies do you have?
Yes. How many people have you pissed off that you need a gun to protect yourself?
I mean, if you're that worried, learn a martial art, get fit, and learn how to fight people properly. Pretty much.
Yes. Now, you're going to talk about an amendment to the American Constitution.
Well, this is the whole point, and this is a lot of the gun debate falls down to in the United States. This is the Second Amendment in the Constitution.
Right.
It agreed. The Second Amendment reads as following: a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, the right to the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Essentially, that was so they could fight against the British Redcoats.
Yes.
Essentially.
It came into being at the American War of Independence. Obvious. You can see the obvious need for a citizen militia to be armed to help defend America's independence. But it's now obsolete.
I mean, it's 200 plus years out of date. What do we need this for?
Well, why do the Americans? We don't need it.
Oh, well, you know what I mean. Human beings, I meant.
You don't need it anymore. It's an obsolete piece of legislation. Well,
Yeah, that's right. And
you know, you have a large full-time professional military with a large reserve backing it up. Citizens no longer need to be armed.
pretty much, yeah. Yes. So, just think about it. Look, if you're watching us in the United States, just think about it. Do you really need an automatic weapon? How many enemies do you have? And is it really going to protect you? If you've locked it in a cupboard somewhere and someone comes in armed with another gun, are you going to have time to find your gun?
Hey, wait, I've got to go and find my gun. Hang on, don't shoot me just yet. Off you go.
Yeah.
Unlock your cupboard, get your gun out, load it, and then come back. Okay, start now.
No one's going to do that.
No. They're just going to go bang.
Here, see ya. Nice knowing you.
I'm ex-military, so I understand. I have a pretty good working knowledge of weapons.
Yeah.
So, I don't see that civilians need them.
No, it's just unnecessary. Okay, on a slightly brighter note, who managed to get born?
Well, in 1861, the last Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, Mehmed VI, was born on this day. In 1908... Oh, sorry, in 1882, James Joyce.
You skipped one.
Yeah, Ulysses was his big work. Many consider it one of the best books ever written. Never read it, can't tell you.
I think it was made into a movie recently or something.
Okay. In 1908, Clarence Buster Crabbe. Now, the original Flash Gordon from the movies, he was also a gold medalist in 1932 Olympics. He was born on this day, 1908. In 1940, Alan T.
As in drink.
Yes, Caddy. He was a rock guitarist. Does anybody remember Telstar? The song Telstar?
I do. I know the tune.
You wouldn't remember it, but you know the tune.
Yeah.
That was one of his. Now, in 1940, actor David Jason an English actor named David Jason was born. Anybody who's ever watched A Touch of Frost knows him. Open All Hours, They Shoot Horses.
A few things.
Quite
he
a lot.
likes old movies. I'm just like, it's an old movie.
Anybody who was alive, any bloke that was alive in the 70s will know this lady. Farrah Fawcett. Hands up those who had a picture of Farrah Fawcett on the wall in the 70s.
There we go.
Yes, in that pose with all that hair and everything. Yes, she was one of the pin-up girls. Actually, I wasn't really a Farrah Fawcett fan. No.
Heresy.
I liked the two brunettes.
I'm sorry, I wasn't alive then. They just went straight over my head.
In Charlie's Angels, there was Kate Jackson and... oh God, I've forgotten her first name.
I mean, there was an old Charlie's Angels?
Yes. Yes, I liked the two brunettes.
Okay. I may have to Google that.
Yes. She was born on this day in 1947, Farrah Fawcett. 1949, now.
One for the nerds.
One for the nerds, Brent Spiner's birthday. 1949, Data on Star Trek. He's turned up in shows like Leverage and all sorts of places.
Yeah.
So, that's that one. In 1954, The Uptown Girl. Christy Brinkley, ex-wife of Billy Joel, and the person that song was written about. She was born this day, 1954, and Shakira. Apparently her hips don't lie.
No, her hips are always truthful.
She was born on this day in 1977. And another one for the nerds. In 2338, it will be Data's birthday. So
Yes.
there you go.
So, if you're watching this far into the future and it's the 2nd of February, 2338, get building that robot, alright? We need it, because otherwise Star Trek won't come true.
Yes, that's true. Alright, that's us for the night. I hope we haven't offended too many people. Well, actually, I don't mind if we offend people.
Flame wars in the comments is always fun.
Yes. Alright, see you in the dark side. We got cookies.
Bye.